Here's another one of my help videos on installing the bushes on a subframe, the trailing arms. Here is one from Chris Witter. These are the Superflex bushes that he has, and there's a tube that goes in there that makes installing these a lot easier, and he also gives you a special grease that you should use to apply them. Now if you notice carefully, you can see one of the ends is tapered slightly and one isn't, so that gives you a pointer on how you can push the bush into the trailing arm. Now I'm not that strong, and I was struggling a little bit, but what I found is that I got this Jubilee clip, and yes, this is an original Jubilee brand clip that my father used to get from work at British Airways. Got one, so very nice one. I applied that special grease, put it on the end of this bush like this, clamped it up so it was a bit thinner, then used the threaded bar and nuts and bolts, let's do it this way, and put it in. Now this bush did move slightly at an angle, but once it's partially in, you can get a screwdriver to push the rest of it in. It, as I said, because the sleeve's not in there, it does flex, but I can't do it. Some people say put them on hot water. You can do that, but once it's compressed, you can slide it in, and then it actually, you can push it in with your hand. I did grease the inside of the tube also with this grease as well. Now once you get to the end, obviously with all these washers, it's going to stop. So I found a piece of scrap exhaust pipe. It's got a little thing on it. I basically put this on the end and connected up the threaded bar onto this and just tighten it up. So both of these are in, and then what I will do is apply more grease and then put in this tube back in. Now another thing that I found that before you get frustrated is these, depending what what bushes you used before, the gap in the trailing arms get thinner. And so when you're under the car and you want to make sure, and you try and offer up the trailing arm to the bracket, you realize that this may not fit. And because these are too compressed, because of the old bracket that you had, maybe the old bush you may have might be a different thickness. So one way I did, I don't have problems on the inner ones, the other ones I had problems. So what I did was I basically got this same threaded bar and I put the nuts on the inside and I threaded them to expand the gap between the two bracket arms, so then the sleeve will fit in there. So hopefully once I offer it up on the car, I won't have a trouble of saying, ah, shit, it won't go because the gap's too small or too big. One thing I did notice on the Chris Witter bushes, I don't think you can make out, but if I put the tube next to the sleeve, the actual sleeve is a couple of millimeters bigger than the bush. So I'm assuming there may be a bit of movement in the trailing arm once it's on, but you know, I know Chris Witter knows his stuff, so probably it's a moot point. But that's something I did observe, is the height of that tube and the height of the poly bush is slightly different. I don't know if you can make that out. So anyway, that may help people putting in their bushes. I would definitely recommend going for poly. You know, the story is the rubber ones don't last more than 5 years and you'll be doing it again. Just spend the extra money and do it once, and you won't have to touch it hopefully for 20 years. Here quickly just showing you my setup of how I pull the bushes in. Basically you just tighten up the nut, and here's that exhaust pipe thing so it slides over, and then here's a washer, and you just tighten up, it slides in. Pretty easy. That's how I did it. By the way, I do have a press, but when you're trying to do this single-handedly, it's difficult to hold the trailing arm in the press, so I think this is a lot easier to do